Good morning, my name is Dana Sweetser, and I'm reading through Hope Starts Small, a novel I just finished up. And today I'm reading Chapter 3, Part 2, The Move. Their realtor informed the seller that Frank and Constance were under contract on a home that they were going to purchase. As the process continued with their own buyer, it came to light that while they had agreed to a certain date for Frank and his family to leave, they actually wanted them out quite a bit sooner. There were communication snafus and mixed expectations, but after sorting all of that out, it boiled down to the buyer asking them to be out of the house as soon as humanly possible. There were some natural limitations. The family couldn't buy until they sold, for example, but they were able to negotiate with a very friendly seller of the barn to get prepossession. And so Frank made the necessary arrangements to get a moving truck, empty the house, and transplant his family from their home in town to the barn in one weekend. It was an overwhelming task, and Frank would certainly need help. It made things easier that the family had already vacated non-essentials to storage. What was left was what the family needed to function, but it was still a lot. Also, the prospect of needing a soft landing for Oma was important and would need to factor into the move. Frank started the process by filling the garage with as much as he could. The plan was to fill the garage, then the truck, then empty it to the barn, rinse, and repeat until they were out for good. Frank picked up the truck on Thursday, March 23, 2023, and brought it home. The next morning, his friend Faithful came over and helped him to load it to the brim. They were able to nearly empty the garage, and Frank was hopeful. The next day, friends from church came to the barn and helped him to unload. The truck was summarily returned to the rental company. The next Monday, their piano was donated, taken by a kind furniture mover who wanted it for his grandchildren. Throughout that week, the family continued to pack, clean, paint, empty, rinse, and repeat. The garage was filled again, boxes were purchased and packed. It was exhausting. On Wednesday, March 29, 2023, Frank rented a second truck. Transfer of possession was scheduled for that Friday at 2 p.m., and they had taken big steps forward over the past week. The family had been moved to the barn over the prior weekend. The soft landing was in progress. Everyone had a place to sleep and food and restrooms. The blueberry plants had been potted, and all the pots had been transferred to the barn in a room that was ultimately going to be Frank's office. He, of course, didn't mind having them as roommates. But the house in town was far from empty. Frank filled the second truck with a new load, took it to the barn, and emptied it with the help of a friend. Then he returned to the house with the empty truck on Thursday afternoon. The last hurdle would be the hardest. Both the family and Oma, who had her own living space, had a number of odds and ends left in the otherwise empty rooms. And these odds and ends added up when the rule was to leave nothing behind. Then, once the house was emptied, Frank would need to clean before he left. So he began to work, packing hurriedly to clear everything from the house. Frank worked from that Thursday afternoon through the night, straight on until the Friday afternoon deadline. He had filled the truck to the brim. The house was emptied, cleaned, and ready to be surrendered. That night had passed with waves of hopelessness, giving way to inevitability and determination. Frank ate late-night cheesecake for sustenance. That had helped. He drank caffeinated seltzer all night. His eyes crossed from time to time uncontrollably. He got overwhelmed when he discovered the secret spice cabinet in Oma's place that was yet to be packed. At a certain point, he ran out of boxes and had to start using paper grocery bags instead. The timing was so close that Frank had finished and parked around the corner as the buyer's realtor arrived to receive the keys. The family had no chance to come and say goodbye. Frank had to take a video instead, walking through the empty rooms. It was a poor substitute for being able to say goodbye in person, but the deed was done. The truck was full, the house was empty, and Frank was exhausted. He handed over the keys and pretended to be chipper. Then he left. He emptied the truck again and returned it to the rental store. Then Frank took a nap. All right, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful day.